Hello, citizens of YouTube. This is the Geeky Nerd here, and today we're going to be talking about the Walther P99, but specifically the anti-stress trigger introduced by Walther, which is a fantastic trigger design. I don't know why they don't have it anymore, but I digress. Before we get started here, I'd like to send a big thank you out to everyone who has liked, commented, and subscribed on the previous videos. I always appreciate it and always enjoy talking to you guys. It's always fun just kind of getting your opinions, reviews, and your takes on things, and I always enjoy answering your questions. If you're new here to the channel, welcome. If you like this type of video and like the other content we have on the channel here, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing. I always appreciate it and helps the channel out. So with that, let's get into it. Anti-stress trigger mode. This trigger style is was introduced by the Walther Corporation, and in particular on the P99 when they were going through kind of a transitional phase, I guess you'd say. In the current generation of things, because this gun is discontinued, the Canic has kind of taken it, ripped it off. I'm not a big fan of Canic. That's just me. Everyone has their own place. I just don't like them. Don't trust them. Regardless, they have utilized that design. And what I'm meaning is the ability for a striker-fired gun to have a decock function and have a different trigger pull, but still be a striker-fired gun, which is nice. Some people like that. Definitely gives a more unique trigger. Now, as far as quick shooting, this, bar none, best one. Before we get too deep in the weeds here, safety check. Nothing there. Decock. So, it's an interesting little feature there. Well, with that, you can see here when you cock a gun, or when you cock a P99, and when you cock any gun, it goes boom, right? You can see here, it has a little red dot in the back. That is your striker, or your firing pin, whatever you want to call it. And the P99, it actually shows you that it's, red is dead, gonna fire. Well, in the cocked position, you can see here the trigger's all the way forward. But unlike a Glock, where you have that, same trigger pull, it's kind of springy. The best way to describe it, you can see here I'm moving it fairly easy. And then once it gets there, it locks. Now, that is the anti-stress mode. The general idea behind it is that if you're jumpy and, you're just going for the trigger, it'll lock back, but it actually won't fire. So, again, you should always, keep your finger off the trigger ready to, fire. But I digress. But with that, it gives a pre-cocked striker, which essentially means instead of you doing the action of pulling the trigger and making that striker, be pulled back and then released and shot forward, it's already done that for you. To where all you're doing is pretty much doing like a single action to where it's just dropping the pin. So you see here, one thing about this, I can do this all day. I can hit this wall all day. It's predictable. It's perfect. I love this trigger. And it's fairly light. It's about, give or take, about 3 pounds, maybe 4. And pretty consistent. No grit, no nothing. And it hits a very noticeable wall. Once it does, break, perfect. No squish, no nothing. Once you fire, you can see that it's still cocked. Obviously, after you fired. And the reset is so short. It's right there. It's like, it's phenomenal. So, break again. Reset. So you can get some fast shots with this just because of that reset being there. I've also had a few accidental double taps because I'm trying to ride that reset and, just a little extra pressure and it breaks. Now, let's say you don't want to shoot. You let go and it goes back into that mode. Now, let's say you really don't want to shoot and you're ready to reholster this and you don't want a, hair trigger, even though it's manageable. Press this little button up here and it decocks the striker. It actually releases all that spring tension. And so instead of the trigger being pre-cocked, now it has a longer, heavier double action pull. And you see there, it actually pulls that striker back, which is nice to have when you're reholstering. That way, if something gets snagged on it, but you always should practice, safe holstering procedures. It won't inadvertently go off. Now, one also thing is when you fire, didn't cycle, dud round. Second strike capabilities. How cool is that? Now, most people will just tap, rack, bang, or hopefully bang, but always nice to have. Better to have than a have not. And in the heat of the moment, you're going to be pulling the trigger so much you might not think about, your mechanics until it hits you a little bit afterwards. But that's a general overview of the anti-stress trigger. Now, we'll take it down here and kind of show you some of the internals. God, I love this Walther. You can see there, that it has this very long striker, and that's to catch on it and basically pull it back. And it's essentially just riding on that little lip back there. And then once you pull the trigger, it just drops that down, and that's what releases it, and then makes the boom, boom, go boom. So let's see if I do this on camera, the viewfinder. There you go. Perfect. So, yeah, guys, with that is kind of just a general overview of the Walther P99 AS, in particular the anti-stress trigger, and just its general functioning, how it's used, and some of the kind of pros about it. Now, some of the cons about it. Well, first thing is you don't have a consistent trigger pull every single time. Some people love that fact about Glocks. I like it as well, but different circumstances and different strokes for different folks. So it does not have a consistent trigger pull each time. Second bad thing about it, it's discontinued. They don't make them anymore in the Walther variant, which I have tried the Canic just to make sure I'm not a hypocrite and just, talking bad against it without ever actually trying. I have tried it. It doesn't even hold a candle to the Walther. So, I mean, if you really want that style, try it on the Canic. You might like it. I don't personally, but with that, it's discontinued on the Walther one. So you can't find these on the secondhand market, but they are getting a bit scarce just because they weren't a big hit as far as with that. Another thing with the anti-stress, which is against it, is the fact of that. The fact of the longer, double action, and then they once it is in that pre-cock stage, that it is very short with that short reset. Some people don't want that because they want to be able to, ride that reset and not have any kind of likelihood, know where it is, and know they can stop and not fire off that second round. So, kind of a downside. I kind of find it as upside just because I can shoot a lot faster, and I have got to use it. So, all about training. And with that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking, commenting, or subscribing. And I hope everyone's having a wonderful, awesome, fantastic day. I'll catch you guys next time. See you guys.